Hey everybody, this is Laken22 again, and I'm going to do another singular video, and if this looks very similar, I'm doing this right after I've just done my solo review for Wonder Woman 1984, because there's another film that I saw recently that I really want to talk about. I mean, this film that I am going to talk about right now deserves so much attention, so much information, that it needs to be done now. And that film is Pixar's Soul. Now, this film, what can I say about it? It is, and bear with me here, it's a masterpiece. This is one of Pixar's best films. I mean, I'm talking on par with Inside Out, the Toy Story films, excluding 4. I didn't like Toy Story 4. It wasn't needed. And Inside Out, or Up, films like that, it needs to be on par with them, and I hope it does, because this film is incredible. I mean, like, from the advertisements alone and the trailers, I thought, you know, this is a nice looking film, and it actually looks like it's going to be really good. I suspected that when this film comes out, it will be well received, and I was right. And a lot of people might think, well, yeah, it's Pixar, they're obviously going to get great reviews. But think about the films we've had before that were Pixar, but weren't as successful. For example, Onward, one that we got last year with Soul, while that was great, wasn't a big success financially. So, yeah, and it didn't get, you know, fantastic reviews. It just got, you know, regular reviews, you know. Yeah, it was a good film, you know, there's nothing too great, nothing too thought-provoking. It was an enjoyable Pixar film. This one is thought-provoking. Like, okay, let's get to the story. So it's about this guy. Actually, what's his name? I don't matter what his name is. Anyway, it's about this jazz musician. He's a teacher at a school, and his class isn't very good. But he has an immense passion for what he does. Literally, everything he thinks about, everything he loves, is solely based on music. Like, when he wakes up, when he goes to sleep, every minute he thinks of music. And he gets the chance to perform with one of his idols. But after he gets the news, after he gets the opportunity, he unfortunately dies. Yeah, a Pixar movie where our protagonist, in the first 10 minutes, actually dies. That takes balls to do. I mean, mostly Pixar doesn't really have the nerve to do something that shocking and dark within the first 10 minutes. But they actually did it. And then he sees the afterlife, thinks his time isn't up, and while he tries to escape, accidentally gets transported to the Great Before, which is where souls get their personalities, their quirks, their traits, their likes, their dislikes, before they go to a body on Earth. And, you know, kudos. This film has some really great analogies, like the Great Before. You know, most people probably don't think about, oh yeah, I wonder where we came from before we were born. And this one is actually a great idea. It's sort of like, it's like a university in some aspects, but also like a preschool, because you've got all these child souls learning what they're going to do when they're born, what they're going to live to, what's their life going to come to. They're getting their likes, their dislikes, and then they go to Earth and they get their body. It's actually a really great idea. And then he meets this soul named 22, who surprisingly doesn't want to go to Earth. She sees it as pointless, having to live a life. She doesn't like Earth. She doesn't like what they do. She's basically, you know, your typical hates everything person that you see in a lot of films a million times. But she has a personality that makes it enjoyably hilarious. And the funny thing is, with her voice, like, you should question, these are child souls. How come she's got the voice of a woman? And funnily, she chooses to have that voice. Like, she could have any voice she wants, but she chooses to have that one because it annoys people a lot. So that's pretty funny. So then they get transported back to Earth when he tries to go back and takes 22 with him. But 22 accidentally goes in, I think his name is Joe. Yeah, goes in Joe's body, and Joe actually ends up in a cat's body. Now that, again, is pretty funny. So then 22 starts realizing the benefits of living a life. And Joel starts realizing that maybe it was his time. You know what I mean? It's a lot of great analogies. But the best thing I can say about this film is, really, just look at the film. It's gorgeous. I mean, this is like some of the best animation I've ever seen in a Pixar film or any animation film in general. It's got so much color, so much vibrant visuals, so much heart to it. Like, I look at every panel of this film, every split second of animation, and it just looks incredible. It's phenomenal, the animation in this film. And it really explores some ideas and some thoughts that most people wouldn't want to put in a child's film. Because again, the thought can be too scary for kids, you know, someone dies too early, it's unexpected, it's shocking. That can be quite scary for a kid to actually think about, but they do it in a way where a kid can easily go through thinking about, wow, soon I might die. Somehow it might just happen like that, and I won't see it coming, but I just might have to accept it. It's actually quite interesting that they actually came up with this plot. It's incredible. But again, with me, no film is perfect. I always find a flaw. And with this film, it's a big one and a small one at the same time. And it's with the ending. Now, again, it's a kid's film. You're obviously going to have some sort of good ending, so you don't put the kids in like a sort of dismal mood afterwards, you know. That's understandable for a kid's film. I mean, for example, look at Bambi, for example. Like, they kill her mother in the film, but then literally in the next scene, it's happy skies, vibrant colours, you know, happy-looking animals, you know what I mean? They want to leave you on, like, such a bittersweet note, I can say, a bittersweet note. And this film, with its ending, so basically they go back to the great before, and Joel says to 22, you know, I give you this pass, you know, you deserve to have a life on Earth. I've seen your passion, you need to go. And she realises, but you're not going to be able to go back, and he says, I know, but with what I've seen, I've lived my life. I just didn't realise it until now, because we see flashbacks of his life might have not been astounding. He might not have changed the world in any way, but he had a great life. He had brilliant friends. He had supporting family. He had opportunities to do something with his music, and he did take them. They just didn't take him in the ways that he thought that they would go and feel fulfilling. But once he sees them, he realises, no, that's fulfilling enough. I can live with that. So 22 goes to Earth, and then we see the shot of him going up the escalator to the afterlife. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, do you know what? This is actually quite grown up of Pixar. They're actually showing that you don't always get a second chance at life. You know, sooner or later, you just have to realise that you had your chance with life, even if you've not accepted it. That's it, your time's up. I thought that was very thought-provoking. But right before he goes to the afterlife, one of these line creature things comes to him and says, no, you know what, you get your second chance. Go on, live your life. You know, love every second of it. And I was like, gobsmacked at that part. Now, don't get me wrong, I liked it. You know, it was a nice ending. You know, it made me feel emotional. But also, it made me thought, wow, okay, right. They were going somewhere with this. Like, they were really going in a very adult, grown-up direction with this idea, with this plot. But then they do, you know, the typical, oh, do you know what? We'll give you a second chance. Just make sure that you live life to the fullest. I'm thinking, oh, they just copped it out at the last minute. And I'm like, oh, they had something great there. Oh. Even if he just, like, became a mentor at the end, it was like, that would have been enough. You know, he could teach people the values of life. But no, he gets his second chance. He goes back to his life and he says, I'm going to live every second to the fullest. I'm going to make sure I live life. So I was thinking, the film would be so much more compelling in its ending if he either died or he became a mentor. Now, again, I know why they did the decision that they did. They thought, right, well, for some kids, this is going to be a bit too sudden or a bit too dark for them, like, to process. And I completely understand that. I mean, if I was a kid, if I was, like, 6 or 7 years old and I saw this, I'd probably be terrified of accepting death. Because a lot of people in the world can't accept death. They're terrified of the notion of ever dying. That they come up with these delusions that they're not going to die. They're going to go to heaven. They're going to be reincarnated. Well, again, we just have to accept the fact that at some point in our lives, we are going to die. That's going to happen. It's inevitable. We can't stop that. But this film sort of like puts, a stop to that and says, if you've done the right thing, you can go back and you can live your life again. I'm thinking that's not a good moral for kids. Because what if they actually start to think, right, so let's see, if I die and if I stay good, I might get my second chance back. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, I'd probably think that if I was bloody a kid's age, I'd be thinking, wow, could that happen? Could I get a second chance at life if I die? You can't. I mean, look, I do believe in some forms of speculation of what happens after death. Like, I believe that there is a heaven, because I was raised in a Catholic school. I do believe that there is a heaven. I do believe that there is an afterlife. But I also believe in the notion that we get reincarnated either in different bodies, different people, or we relive our whole life again, but with no memory of our past life. I believe in those notions, but sometimes some people are like, once you die, you die. That's it. Bam, finished. Nothing else. So this film was going somewhere with that, and I was going like, wow, this film has got my full respect. And at the minute, it's got almost my full respect. Like, they were really making me fall in love with this film, and then at the last minute, I was like, oh, you lost me there. I'm sorry. You're still a fantastic, phenomenal movie, but that one choice you did, it was the nail in the coffin. They could have got an absolutely phenomenal film, but this sort of just got the generic ending. Do you know what I mean? It's a good ending. It would have been nice if Pixar actually did an ending where they just do it real life. You know what I mean? Look, even if it's terrifying for kids, sometimes kids have to grow up. Some kids grow up faster than others. And they need to realize the reality of life, that life isn't fair. Life isn't just going to hand itself on a silver platter, give you all the benefits on a dime. Sometimes you have to work for them. Sometimes you never get them. Sometimes you die sooner than you think. You just have to live with that. You have to work for it. So, again, don't get me wrong, this film is still spectacular. I rank it in the top 5 of my favourite Pixar films. It did that good of a job. But I guess the ending just sort of got to me more than I was originally anticipating. I was hoping it was going somewhere, but it didn't. So that was kind of a letdown for me. But the rest of this film, I could not say much good stuff about it, because this film did no wrong with everything else. The animation, the story, the voice acting, the music, everything about this film was just phenomenal. I mean, just when you think that Pixar is running out of ideas, or they're taking relatively creative ideas but putting a more generic feel into it, they just return to form with this film. They really came back to their roots with Toy Story, with Monsters, Inc., with Inside Out, with Up, with WALL-E. This film is on the margin of being as memorable as those films, and I highly respect it for that. I'd say that Soul is the best 2020 film of all time. 2020, you've been an absolutely shit year, but I do thank you for giving me Soul. That's the one good thing that you've done this year. You created Soul, so I thank you for that. But I never want to think of 2020 again. Really. In my life, I'm going to erase this year from existence. I do not give a shit. I'm going to look back on this year as possibly the worst year of my entire life. that I never want to rethink. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was my review of Saul. I'm glad you enjoyed it, hopefully. Don't forget to comment down below and subscribe to my channel, because, again, I really need more subscribers. When I'll do my next video, I'm not sure yet, because, again, to have the time to do these all the time is a bit difficult for me. But I promise I will get to doing them, and I will deliver. So I can promise you that. I don't know specifically when, but it will happen. So thank you very much. This is Lakin22, and this has been Lakin22's Movie Chat. Have a great 2021.